Yo, it's BDG Comics, and today I'm bringing you another comic book week in review for June 15th, 2022's new comic book day. This week I read 13 books, and in this video I'm going to rank them from 13 to number 1, and here we go. Alright, coming in at number 13, we have A Town Called Terror, number 3. It was not a bad book by any means. It's a pretty cool book, pretty okay story. The biggest problem with it, that I have at least, is that the story just doesn't seem to really be going anywhere. It's just taking its sweet time. There's like, I don't know, 50 words in an issue. It's just not enough. The art is absolutely gorgeous, and I can't stress that enough. If you are a fan of comic books, especially horror comic books, and you just really like the art and you don't care too much about the story, then this book is definitely for you. It's beautiful. It's just not for me. And like I said, I have it at 13 here. It probably doesn't deserve to be 13th as the worst comic book of the week. It's a pretty good comic book. It's not for me. I need more story and more plot progression. And this book just doesn't really have that. It's very slow. It's a slow burn. It'll probably be a great trade once that comes out, or like some hardback collected edition if they do more than 6 issues, which I'm sure they will, because I can't see this thing wrapping up in like 3 issues because there's literally nothing. So yeah, I'm done with Town Called Terror. I might read it. I might continue the story and read it, digitally or however, but it's just not for me. All right, and then at number 12, we have Wolverine, number 22. So I do think that this was better than the last couple of issues. Mostly it was gross. That was the biggest vibe I got from it. There was a lot of slashing Wade Wilson in half, and a lot of like disembodied, not disembodied, that's not the right word, but like torso Deadpool, just kind of chilling and squishing around, and it was okay. That series just doesn't do it for me. But this was the first time where I think that I can remember that I actually felt bad for Wade. He was so disheartened by Wolverine slicing him in half over and over that he even came to the point where he's like, I don't even want to join the X-Force anymore. But then again, at the end, it seems like the two of them kind of bonded a little bit. So I don't know if in the future actually gonna be Deadpool with the X-Force again, or if it's gonna be a Wolverine Deadpool like actual team up or something. It does seem like the bond is growing though. And that was my number 12, Wolverine number 22. All right, and coming in at number 11, I have Immortal Red Sonja. Another book that I feel like they're just kind of stringing me along. I'm actually not picking up this series anymore. The story is cool, and I enjoy it, and I dig it. I like their take on like Arthurian legend and stuff like that. But it's just something about this book. I think it's maybe the art is what's keeping me away from it the most. There's a really cool like argumentative nature, I guess I should say, between Sonja and Arthur, and that's entertaining. And Arthur keeps like intentionally omitting certain pieces of advice or guidance for Sonja, and I think that's funny. That's probably the best part of the book, is the relationship between Arthur and Sonja. The colors are pretty good in the book, but the art is very inconsistent, and I think it's below average in this particular issue. And I didn't give ratings for the other ones. I gave A Town Called Terror, which was my number 13. I gave that a 6. Wolverine 22, I gave a 6.5, and Immortal Red Sonja, I also gave a 6.5. And now to move on to our top 10, and at number 10, I got Ben Reilly Spider-Man number 5, which is actually the finale of this little run here. We got this little Ben Reilly run, which I did enjoy as a whole, and I think this conclusion issue was the worst of the entire run. It was very convoluted and very, very, very narrative heavy. It seemed like, whereas the first 4 issues, they had their decent amount of narrative and text to read, but this one was just way above and beyond the other 4. The other 4 were more action oriented, and this one was more like, okay, here's how it happened. Here's, it wrapped it up with a lot of text, and it was fine. It was not a bad issue. I just think it was the worst of the 5 for this Ben Reilly Spider-Man run. It was very, like I said, it was very wordy. Seems like they could have spread out some of this narrative, at least in the last issue or 2. But I think that might have dragged down those 2 issues as well. So maybe they did do the right thing by putting it all in here. I don't know. I'm not glad it's over, because I really dig the Ben Reilly Spider-Man stuff. But this conclusion just didn't hit for me. And then at the end they said, there's like, they didn't say it, they had an advertisement for Spider-Man The Lost Hunt. So I'm wondering if that's going to continue Ben Reilly's story or this arc, this run. But overall, it was fine. I just think it was pretty weak for a conclusion, and they relied way too much on narrative storytelling. But that was a 6.5 out of 10 for me. And then that was number 10. Coming in at number 9, we got Jurassic League number 2. Kind of in the same vein as Ben Reilly. It's not very narrative heavy, but it's just not compelling for me. Now, it's Jurassic League, so what can you expect? Our heroes, our DC heroes, are dinosaurs. So I guess, it is what you should expect. Kind of not, I don't want to say not serious, because it's not serious. It's not overly serious, at least for a DC series, of course, but it's not that it's overly silly either. It just lacks some depth, I think. Basically what we're just seeing here is every issue we see a superhero or supervillain or 2 converted to their dinosaur character, and that's like the big deal here, basically. It's fun, but I think I'm done with it. There's just not enough meat on the bone for me. Atrocitosaurus is cool though, so there's that. Yeah, I don't really have too much to say about this. It's an okay series, and it should be entertaining for like kids or teenagers, but it's just, I don't know, it just lacks depth. That's really all I can say about it. I gave that a 7 out of 10. And that was my number 9. At number 8, I got X-Men Red number 3. This is another convoluted mess of an X-Men book, so what do you expect? But there's some really cool, like, brutal scenes in here. There's a really cool fight scene between Vulcan and Tarn, and then that was pretty cool, and there's some wicked stuff there. But then after that fight, you see Magneto jump in versus Tarn, and there's some really brutal stuff that happened in that fight, but they didn't show it. They like kind of left it off panel, and that's sad. I really wanted to see that. So, but it was not bad. So 7 out of 10 for that. And then at number 7, we got Iron Fist number 4. So Iron Fist number 4, it was a very action-packed issue. That's all it was. It was just action the whole time. It was basically like 1.5 fight scenes, and that was kind of the issue as a whole. Definitely entertaining, and it was a quick read. While there was just a fight scene the whole time, there was enough dialogue to piece together that it gives you like some backstory and some lore to the origins of the Iron Fist power. So that's pretty cool if you're into like the sort of Eastern style lore with the Iron Fist power. You'll dig this for sure. For me, that's not what I like about Iron Fist. I just like the the action, and the fights, stuff like that. I like the Fist of Fury kind of fighting style that Iron Fist has, as opposed to some other superheroes who are just gonna like shoot fire or laser beams or whatever. I like the the Bruce Lee inspired fighting style of Iron Fist, and that's what I came here for. But I'm getting more, I guess, backstory on the Iron Fist powers that I don't find interesting. But it was pretty good. Overall, it's a very decent issue and a decent run as a whole so far. I gave that a 7.5 out of 10, and that's my number 7. All right, now at number 6, I have Radiant Black, number 15. So this was a cool book. Probably one of the worst of Radiant Black so far, which is saying a lot because just first off, I gave this book a 7.5 out of 10. And Radiant Black as a whole, as a series, has been just absolutely fantastic, just killing it so far. This is probably one of the weakest issues. It's just kind of, in general, I think was a little boring and a little slower paced than some of the other ones. There was, like it started off pretty strong, and then it just died down until you get to a fight scene at the very end. Very dialogue heavy, boring and dry. But at the end, there is a QR code. Basically, it presents itself as almost like the loading screen of a fighting game, right? Where you select your characters and then you go into the loading screen and it shows the characters' faces. There's like a panel or a spread in here that's that, and it has a QR code. And if you use your phone or whatever and you scan that QR code, it takes you to like an animated fight on, I think it's on YouTube, but it's also like, I think it takes you to their webpage. It's like radiantblack.com or something like that. But really badass. I really like how they did that, the mixed media kind of thing, and that is what bumped this one up, because I think before that I had it at like a 6 or a 6.5. It bumped it up at least to a 7.5 to me, or for me. And that was my number 6. And the only reason I didn't vote that higher is because it did rely on media outside of the comic book for it to get that kind of score. And then at number 5, so now we're breaking into our top 5, and I have Grimm number 2. Really cool issue, I think. Good follow-up to the first issue, where we're kind of delving further into Jessica Harrow, who is the main character. We're delving further into her story and trying to learn about what happened and how she died, so that maybe we can understand why she was able to connect with living mortals. But they do make it a little confusing, and I don't really comprehend what happened, because her and one of the other Reapers like snuck into the library, I guess was what they called it. I think that's what they called it, at least. Basically where Death keeps his files on everybody, and they found her file and they opened it, and it like transported her into like this vision, but it was really confusing and it ended very abruptly. So she saw like her sister or her lover. I'm not sure what relation the person she saw had to her, but they mentioned Jessica. And so I don't think it was her mother, but whoever it was, and not Jessica, whoever the lady was that she saw in her vision died in childbirth. But she, I think, still doesn't know how she died. And the vision was interrupted at the end by, I think her name's Adira or something like that. The like, I don't know, the head honcho Grim Reaper. Basically, it seems like it is her role. It seems like that's what her role is. She's like kind of a motherly figure for Jessica. But she interrupted because she told her not to go hunting for it. She said that ignorance is bliss, basically, is what it came down to. And she told her, she interrupted her vision, her accessing her file, and said, "I warned you," something like that. So throughout the book, the coloring is just phenomenal. Really, really good coloring. Vibrant, yet, what's the word? I'm looking, cool tones. So like a lot of blues and purples. But not like, not calming. It's just warm, like, no, not warm, cool tones, but not overly like, it doesn't make you sleepy when you look at it, basically. It doesn't calm you down or relax you too much. It's very vibrant and eye-catching. And I think that has to do with the way they blend it all. But it's very, very good stuff. There was some weird art changes kind of right in the middle of the book. I think there's 2 artists on this book, and they like kind of flip-flop artists when it comes to like visions or flashbacks. I think that's what's happening. But it's a really good issue so far, or series so far. I might pick up issue number 3. I didn't actually buy number 2 physical copy, so I might actually pick up issue number 2 if I can find a copy of it still out there on the shelves somewhere. But yeah, it was pretty good. I did enjoy it. And that was my number 5, and I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Now next up at number 4, I have Captain America, Sentinel of Liberty, number 1. Right, yeah. So what happens in the beginning of this book is you kind of see Captain America, you see Steve Rogers living his life as a normal, trying to live his life as a normal person. And it starts off with him moving into this like rundown midtown apartment. And it turns out it's where he grew up, like the apartment he grew up in when he was a little kid, with his mother and stuff like that. And he kind of sees a vision of his mother kind of like hanging out in the kitchen or something, you know, just he gets like a image flashback of, you know, that time, which was probably what, the 50s, something, 40s or 50s. So it doesn't stay there though. It's like one panel, like a flashback to show you basically that this was the apartment he grew up in. But it seems like a disaster waiting to happen. Like Steve Rogers, big target, Avenger, Captain America, living in this rundown midtown apartment. Maybe somebody should give him Dick Grayson's phone number so he can call him and be like, "Hey, do you think this is a good idea?" I don't know, just throwing it out there. So this issue was pretty good. And then as a whole, like, it's not very action heavy or anything like that. Like, you see Steve Rogers go to community college to like do some introspective stuff to learn more about himself as a person and not just as a superhero. He goes to like art class or something like that. It's a digital art class because his teacher or a student or somebody like that is like commenting and saying, "You're drawing on the wrong layer," or something like that. So he's doing like digital art in class and just kind of learning, getting more introspective, learning more about Steve Rogers, the person and the adult. And then they kind of start to ruin it a little bit. They get into the action, and then the last 3 pages were pretty unbearable. He just goes on like a monologue about how the United States is evil and the American dream is dead. So, typical stuff, typical like agenda pushing stuff, but at least it was only the last 3 pages, and it wasn't so bad that I can't see the bright spots of the rest of the book. It was pretty light, and it could still go against that direction, so I'm optimistic. If it does start, pandering and becoming Antifa the book, then I'll drop it for sure, but it was pretty good and entertaining. Curious to see, where they go with the plot. It does seem to be headed into a grounded superhero kind of place, and I'm excited for it. And I gave it an 8 out of 10, and that is my number 4. And next up, I got at number 3. Superman, Son of Kal-El, number 12. Now, this is a decent issue. I can see the problems that some people have with it, because at the end of the day, John is at least complicit, or secondarily, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but he's at least associated with the murdering of a U.S. senator. Now, he didn't really murder this U.S. senator or intimidate him or anything like that. Crypto, his dog, killed the U.S. senator. So it's hard to say that John really had any control over that. I mean, I guess he could have stopped Crypto by killing him or something. But it is what it is. And to be honest, that senator probably didn't have a chance anyways, because he had like some giant squid octopus tentacle monster living inside of him or something. Not sure exactly how that works out, but yeah, that's a really creepy monster. Really cool, well drawn. I love the art in Superman, Son of Kal-El. It's really good art. DC's like big books, Superman, Son of Kal-El, Nightwing, Batman, Superman, World's Finest, Batman the Knight, Batman Killing Time. The art, they are absolutely killing it. Action, detective, they're just killing it in the art category. And this is no exception. Superman, Son of Kal-El, the art is great, but I can see where some people would have a gripe saying that Superman, he's aligning himself with Jay, who is, let's be real, he's a domestic terrorist. Now, whether or not, he's doing the right thing or not, that's up to, a different debate. But he's definitely aligned with like a revolutionary terroristic group. Now, they are intimidating U.S. senators or going after, U.S. politicians or whatever. And I don't know if John really wants to play a part in that. We'll see. It's hard to tell at this point, at least. But it's a cool story, and I'm curious to see where it goes. And maybe we'll see Bruce slap the shit out of John and, kind of knock some sense into him. I like Jay as a character, honestly. I think he's a cool character, but he's villainous. Let's be real. He's definitely got some villain attributes to him. There was a cool like unmasking scene with him. I did enjoy that. That was fun. It does seem to be going somewhere, so that's good. Finally, it only took 8 issues for it to like finally kind of go somewhere. All right, and that was my number 3, Superman, Son of Kal-El, 12. And coming in at number 2, oh, what did I say? What I gave that? I gave it an 8 out of 10. And at number 2, I have Do a Powerbomb, number 1. Oh, that's blue letters and this is red letters. I just realized that. Huh. Okay. Anyways. Oh, yo. If you like wrestling even a little bit, go out and pick up this book. Seriously. Stop watching the video. Click pause. Click the like button. Click subscribe button. Leave a comment and say, I'm going to my LCS right now to go pick up an issue of Do a Powerbomb number 1. This book was incredible. The art isn't like the best art in comic books or anything like that. Quite the contrary. It's very unique in its own style. It's not like the most flashy or photorealistic or anything, but it fits the writing and this story so well. It's like a perfect fit. It's literally a perfect fit. So we got Crimson Cage, right, from AWA. I think they ended that one like 2 months ago, a month ago, something like that. And that was such a fantastic comic book series. And I realized probably a week or 2 after it was gone that there's nothing wrestling anymore. I just have to get all my wrestling content from, you know, watching AEW or whatever. And I really enjoy the wrestling subgenre, I guess, of comic books. So I'm so glad this came out. And Daniel Warren Johnson, thank you. Amazing. This is... I didn't really know what to say about it without spoiling it. So this girl, wrestler, you go back into her childhood. It starts out in her childhood, and her mother is a like champion. She's the championship wrestler, and it's got this weird vibe where it's like co-ed wrestling. So you have a female versus a male, and I guess either gender can hold like the title belts. Doesn't matter what gender they are. So that's pretty cool. I'm not sure exactly if I would want that in real life, but it's cool. It's got its own unique aspect, I guess, in that way. But this has definitely filled the hole that Crimson Cage left, and I would say that Daniel Warren Johnson is goated for this. So something happens, you know, and I don't want to fill you up.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
Or spoil anything like that, but it skips ahead to where that girl that grew up watching her mom wrestle is kind of trying to follow in her footsteps, and her dad is actually, you know, trying to push back against her, saying, "Don't do it. I don't want you to do it. I don't want you to wrestle." But she loves it and she wants to do it, and it's got like an anime vibe to it, like the beginning of a training arc for an anime. And I think that's really cool. It reminds me of like, I mean, it's Dragon Ball Z. That's literally what it is. It's Gohan. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to give it away, but I actually, this is the first time I ever, well, second time I ever gave a single comic book issue a 10 out of 10. And that is my number 2, Do a Powerbomb, number 1, 10 out of 10. Highly, highly recommend. If you're a wrestling fan, stop what you're doing right now and go get it. If you're just a comic book fan, finish the video and then stop what you're doing and go and pick it up. So you might be asking yourself, what could possibly be my number 1? After I gave my number 2 video a 10 out of 10, right? Well, my number 1 is Street Fighter Swimsuit Special. And if you really want to know why, it's because of all the plot. Look at all this plot. So much plot. I can't. The story is just so good. I can't even begin to describe like how much thought went in to all this amazing writing. I mean, you just can't beat it. You can't beat it. And I gave that book 100 out of 10. So that's my number one, and that's June 15th, 2022's New Comic Book Day. Make sure to leave a like and put your D in my subscribe, and make sure to leave a comment and let me know what you thought about this week's comic books. Until next time. Okay, so if you couldn't figure it out, I was just kidding. Duo Powerbomb number one is clearly my pick of the week.